What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. We're gonna be doing an update today on the HEX optics, the Dragonfly right there on the XDM Elite OSP, and of course the Wasp right there on the Hellcat. So these have been out for several months now. I've had the opportunity to get them to the range a bunch of times now, and I've had the chance to get some really good experience with them, both in the very bright Arizona desert and a little bit of that low light footage, and a couple things have presented themselves, which is why I wanted to do a follow-up video on these. And that follow-up has to do a little bit with the LEDs in there, which is an issue I brought up specifically with the Wasp, but it has presented itself on the Dragonfly now as well. And you're gonna see that here when we get into some of that up-close footage, but I'll roll in just a quick thing so you can kind of see what I'm talking about, and it has to do with the refresh rate of that LED. So if you don't know, all LEDs have like a blink rate, and that refresh rate is going to determine when you're moving that optic around, can you visually see it with your naked eye as compared to a camera shooting at a high frame rate. Now, if this is your first time here and this is stuff that interests you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me, turn the bell notification icons on, and definitely give the video a like if you like anything that is going on here, or if you feel that I have deserved it at any point in time. We're gonna go ahead and take a really good up close look at this so I can give you guys a solid idea of what you're gonna be getting into if you get one on your setup or if you buy one after the fact. We'll then talk about some things that are good, some things that are bad, and some couple things that maybe I think they need to work on to really bring these up to where I think they personally should be. And then of course, if you're interested in any of that stuff, you can go ahead and check out those links down below. But we're gonna go ahead and get into these optics right now. All right, let's go ahead and talk about what's going on with these optics. You have the Wasp, which is the smaller one, and the Dragonfly, which is the larger one. Overall, pretty good look, pretty cool design on here, some good stuff going on here, but we got to talk about the LED rate, the refresh rate, how it looks in there, because that is really what's going to be the determining factor for a lot of people when it comes to an optic, that and its durability. I'm going to show you guys the Wasp first, and then it'll be a little bit more apparent on the Dragonfly. When I change things around, you'll really get to see what I'm talking about here. So naturally on cameras, depending on the frame rate you shoot at, you will see a blink in the LED right there. Now, you can't see that with your naked eye, but you can see it on camera because all LEDs blink. And if you're shooting at a high frame rate on a camera, it becomes apparent. So where it becomes really apparent on this version is the lower the light setting is. So you can see right there, it's very much more noticeable the dimmer the LED is set for brightness than when it is on its own brightness. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna slow this down a little bit, but if you see in there, if you move that around or there's any movement at all, it gets really bad and really kind of, blinks. So it's very, very distracting if you're out there on the range. So initially when we reviewed these, it was apparent on the Wasp, the smaller one here, but it was not apparent on the Dragonfly, or it was not as apparent, I should say that. So the reason it didn't come up at first, because I was shooting this very bright days in the Arizona desert and it was on high, it was on brightness setting of high. And this is where I say what I'm about to talk about is gonna come very, very apparent. So you can see right there, looks good. You move it around in there, it looks nice and solid. Now, when you get the brightness settings turned down, okay, as we start moving down, you will see it becomes very apparent now. So the lower it gets, the dimmer you set that LED for your light conditions, it gets pretty bad until you come all the way back up to max brightness. So that is a very good representation on what you will see. Now, as you're out there on the range, you're looking through that optic, if any of that motion like this, or if you're running, doing some cool training, the blinking is going to be very apparent on both of these depending on the light setting. The Wasp here is a fully automatic setup, where the Dragonfly, you can operate it manually with that one button, and I would suggest leave it all the way up, because even one step down on brightness, you start to get that blinking. Now, it's not all bad here, so let's go ahead and talk about some range footage, zeroing the overall design of these optics. Now that I've got several hundred rounds through them and had them for several months longer now, did I say several months longer now, let's talk about my overall feelings and if I think there's anything that should be changed on these, because I definitely do. All right, so as you can see, that is pretty noticeable under that camera, under that circumstance. Like I said, it has a little bit to do with the fact that I'm shooting in 60 frames a second there on the camera, and that will bring that out on video where you can't notice that to the naked eye. Where you will be able to get to notice that is out there on the range when you're actually like transitioning from target to target, or if you just move that dot around in that window. So as far as how they perform out on the range, I'll roll in some of that footage here so you guys can see that. My first experience to the several other experiences I've had after the fact, they've held zero, they've worked well out there. The Wasp is still definitely a little bit dim, so is the Dragonfly, even at max brightness out there in the Arizona desert. However, they've held zero, the glass is pretty clear on them. I haven't noticed any issues when it comes to stuff like that. Now, if you don't know, the color and the coating on that glass has to do with battery life, because the coating on there is what helps the LED reflect. And the thicker the coating, or the more of different types of coating, as it's been explained to me, it can cause a little bit more of a bluish hue or a reddish hue, but that's what allows the LED to show on the glass. I guess the kind of more hueing there is, it might help the battery last a little bit longer because there's more of that coating. And the lighter the coating, it takes away from that battery life. So there is a give and a play there. Overall, the glass on that is just not bad at all. It's as clear as some, maybe not as clear as others, but for the price point, I feel that that is right where it should be. Now, as far as the overall design on that, I kind of dig it. It's got a solid look to it. It's got those nice serrations that are built into it. It's got some anti-glare stuff going on the back. It's a decent design. The one button thing, I guess, is kind of you like it or you don't. And then on the Wasp, the fully automatic thing, that's a kind of one of those you like it or you don't thing. All right, so let's talk about what definitely needs to be fixed, and that is going to be that LED refresh rate. So both on the Dragonfly, the big one, and on the Wasp, the smaller one, it is very noticeable at this point. In my initial video, I noticed it immediately on the Wasp, but not on the Dragonfly. Now the reason for that was, and it was my mistake as a reviewer, I was not playing with the Dragonfly at a lower brightness setting because I had been using it out in the desert on max brightness. Now, when I got a chance to use it in some low light, it became very apparent on the Dragonfly as well. The Wasp, it was pretty much noticeable like just about right away, and that fully automatic setting on there, that maybe has something to do with it. I don't know, I'm not an engineer for LEDs and automatic brightness setting optics, but it was definitely noticeable right away on the smaller version of that. Now, these were both sent out to me for testing, but obviously we can't let that sway our opinions here, or at least we should not. Now, in the price point they are at, $299 and $249, the smaller one is more because when we shrink technology, it gets more expensive. At that price point at this time, based on what's going on with them, there are other optics that are in that same price point that are not suffering these issues. And I think at this point might be a little bit better of an option. Now, if they come on the setup that you're getting, that's just kind of what you have. If it doesn't come on the rig you are running, you might want to wait it out. This is the first generation of these optics, and it's likely that they're going to get enough contact through customer service or warranty that they're probably going to be looking into upgrading the LED. It seems to be that any company that comes out with a red dot that's not in that $400 to $500 range plus, or at least the, I don't know, $375, like some of the Holosuns or something like that, it seems to be the first generation does suffer from a little bit of that LED issue. Well, that's what I have for you all today. I hope you guys liked the follow-up video on the HEX optics right here. Now that you guys know a little bit more, leave me a comment down below on what your thoughts are or your experiences if you have one of these on your setup. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, turn the bell notification icons on. If you are interested in anything, I'll leave links down below. For that, you can check out the homepage, tacticalconsiderations.com. Huge shout out to my Patreons and Shall Not Comply, which is the sponsor for the clothing for the channel, and Blackout Coffee. You guys get out there, have some fun on the range. Remember, if you stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready, and I will see you guys on the next one.